there been any other sort of epiphanies that you have arrived to based on a conversation with an editor?
Sure. When I first moved to New York, I was in a writing workshop with a guy named Tom Jenks, who is an editor who works privately with students and also teaches as an independent person. He's not with a university. At that point, he was the fiction editor at GQ. And so he was hosting a class, and I had written a novel that everyone found to be unreadable. And so I was, anxious to improve. So I joined this workshop, and we were all writing short stories. And I brought in a story that was, actually it's in my collection. It's called Sacred Heart. And it was about, as many of my stories were at that time, about an adolescent. There were a lot of flashbacks. It was sort of a coming of age story. And everyone in the workshop really liked it. And they said, oh yeah, we love this. And so I thought, oh, I really aced that one. And I waited for Tom, the teacher, to give his feedback. And he said, yeah, it's all right, but you can do better. And I thought, ugh, what do you mean? Everyone loves it. What are you complaining about? And he said, I have a challenge for you. I want you to write a story in which there are no kids and nothing about the past. And I thought, how can you even do that? Like, I had no idea. I felt like that felt like it was paralyzing me. But once I got through that paralysis, I had kind of a breakthrough. I wrote a short story that I sold to the New Yorker. I was 26. It was like an amazing accomplishment. And it was the result of him basically forcing me out of my habits. And that has really stayed with me, because what I've realized is you get good at doing something and the temptation is to keep doing it because A, it's what you're most comfortable with, and B, you get positive feedback. But my method has really involved, from book to book, sort of cutting myself off from everything I've learned to do in the previous book. And I feel like that's the way. I'm always kind of incompetent. I'm always starting something I don't know how to do, which can be kind of, stressful. But I feel like it keeps me learning and fresh. So that was a great lesson that an editor taught me.
That is really cool.
Yeah. All right, so this question is about your innovative writing style. And we were wondering, sort of, as you mentioned already, you sort of love trying new things, and that keeps you fresh, and that keeps the writing fresh. And we were wondering if that ever, sort of when you're working with your editor, does that ever, bring about conflict, or do you have to, work something out? Is there a time when you think something, but your editor's pushing for something else?
No, but I have changed editors a few times.
Okay.
No, I mean, the price that I pay for, and that my readers kind of pay, for my always working against my own habits and trying to discard what I've learned and turn in a new direction, is that in some, at least stylistically, there's not a lot of continuity in my work. And so what I have to recognize is there are people who are not going to want to journey with me from one project to the next. For example, my novel, The Keep, which is a Gothic thriller, was embraced in the world of Gothic fiction lovers. Who knew it existed? But it does. And they thought, oh, she's bumbled around, but now she's finally arrived at the place where everyone should be, writing Gothic fiction. And so that was wonderful for me. But then when they read A Visit from the Goon Squad, a lot of them really didn't like it. So, and who can blame them? There's nothing Gothic in that book. So, and I think that, and the same has happened with editors occasionally. When I turned up with The Keep, the Gothic thriller, with the editor who had edited Look at Me, which is a very sort of urban, ironic, sort of almost slightly futuristic, or it was at the time, sort of take on modern life, this Gothic thriller really seemed out of left field and wasn't to her taste. So I had to move to a place where I someone really kind of liked what I was doing. So I have made some switches.
Gotcha. Is there anything that you look for in an editor?
Well, that's a great question. I think the number one thing is that we have to share a vision of the project. It's not enough to just have an editor say, well, it's not really for me, but we'll publish it. No. There needs to be a kind of passionate enthusiasm about the project and sort of a faith that, that I can pull it off. So I guess there is, I need to feel a certain level of trust and engagement and excitement. And I'm not a writer who needs a lot of hand-holding. I mean, some people really do, and there are certain editors who are really good at that. I don't, but I do feel like I need an editor who will show up some of the time, at least. I love the feeling of being on a team, because I will do a lot to try to help sell my books, which some writers don't, or in a certain way can't. It takes too much out of them to do a lot of public events, and it's too draining, and it's just really tough. And I think in that case, it's better to do very little so you can keep getting your work done. But I'm willing to really get out there and sell, because I assume no one's going to buy a book unless I sell it to them, or my mom does. So I can kind of consider myself to be on the team, but I want to feel like other people on my team. I don't want to feel like if I have an idea that is sort of like, oh, okay, she's wants us to do this or that. I want us to all be excited and working together to try to make a book a success. I feel that way very much with my current editor at Scribner. I felt like we were all on a team. We all pushed and tried and thought about doing what we could, and I feel like we worked together to make the book sell.
Thank you.